Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mano Meresco. We have another awesome guest today. We have Michelle Santana. She's a tattoo artist, which I'm super excited to learn more about what she does, the process, the creativity process, all of that. So, with that being said, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm super excited. So, let's dive in. How did you get into the tattoo world? Like, what was your first experience with it? And then, was this like part of your journey? Like, was this part of your plan, or did it just like happen accidentally? Like, what how did it all started?
So I always loved art since I was a
Okay.
little girl, since I can remember. And I practiced a lot of different ways of making art, like oil painting. When I became a teenager, I started doing graffiti art. I used to be like the best one at school, so
Mm.
they would even pull me out from classroom, like from math classes, to like go to the theater and do like
Oh wow.
paintings for the theater and things like that. So I always loved it, but I didn't know what to do with it because
Mm.
the only way back then that I could think of was like studying art, like to be a
Oh,
teacher.
teacher.
Um, but my mom was the one who wasn't like really positive about it. She was just like,
Mm.
"What you gonna do? That's not gonna make you money."
Mm.
Typical mom,
Yeah.
Latina mom saying like, that's not a good idea. And then I have two older brothers, and one of them it's an engineer, so they were like really trying
Mm. Like the
me to like
pressure.
do, yeah, something like that. So I was like very like lost until I turned 16, where my other brother. So I have two older brothers. One of them is like the nerd one, the one that went to to college and did the engineering stuff, and the other one is a little bit more rebel.
Mm.
And he started getting tattoos when I was 16, and he was like, "You want one?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" So we went to the tattoo studio, and he paid for my first tattoo, and we didn't tell my mom until 2 years later, until I turned
Oh wow.
18. Yeah. So since that moment, I kind of like started feeling interested about it, but I didn't feel like I could like just go into a tattoo shop and be like, I want to learn because we used to live in Spain, and I feel like back
Mm.
then people used to be like more rude or like more like private with that stuff. So I
Mm.
didn't have like the courage to go to a shop and just ask for it. But then we moved to Colombia when I was 18, almost 19.
Okay.
And I went to a tattoo studio that was around my house uh, with a friend. She knew the owner, so she was kind of like trying to say hi to the owner. Like everything was kind of like connected now that I think about it. Because how I met a girl who knew a tattoo artist that
Yeah.
owned a shop in Colombia, so she brought me there. And I saw that they sell the tattoo kits.
Mm-hmm.
Like you buy a tattoo kit and you start tattooing at home.
Okay.
So I saw it and I asked about it, and the guy was like, "Yeah, you can just buy it." And I was like,
Mm.
"Really? Do I have to like do any course, like a class or something?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "I mean, if you want to, but you don't really need to." So I
Oh
was like,
wow.
"Really?" So I went home and I was like, "Mom, I need this," and she was like, "Uh, I'll buy it for you if you go to college and do what I say."
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, yeah, yeah, sure. So she got me the kit, and the first thing I did was tattooing my cousins and my friends from around the
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then I started going to college to do the career that she wanted me to do. But all I did in college was offering tattoos to the people that was going to college. So she didn't like that very much.
Oh
But I was
wow.
like practicing, like I did a lot of tattoos to
Yeah.
practice.
Oh wow. So you started. You lived in Spain for, was it like
Yeah.
majority of your life, or because you're
So I was
Colombian,
born
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so my family from my mom and my dad's side, they're both Colombians. But they met in New York, my mom and my dad.
Oh wow.
So my dad was kind of like me, like his parents were Colombian, but he was born in New York, but he would go to Colombia all the time.
Mm.
And my mom came to New York when she was very young, like when she was like 19, 20 years old.
Oh wow.
And she went through Mexico actually. So
Mm.
she did the whole like, wall
La
thing.
frontera, yeah.
La Frontera, yeah. And she started like cleaning houses.
Mm.
doing like, what she could in that moment. And eventually her lifestyle got better. And then she met my dad. And I mean, she said she fell in love as soon as she saw him.
Oh,
And they got me. But then they both had got a little issue. So they had to send me back to Colombia. So I was
okay.
born in New York. Then they moved me to Colombia when I was 7 months old.
Oh, wow.
And I was living in Colombia until I turned 9. But in the meantime, I would go to New York to visit my mom.
Mm.
Or then when I turned 6, she moved to Amsterdam. So we
Oh,
would go
wow.
to Amsterdam to see her until I turned 9, where they decided that it was better if we live either in Amsterdam or in Spain to be closer to my mom. And since
Yeah.
I had my grandma, the language barrier,
Mm.
we decided that it was better to do Spain.
Spain.
So I live in Spain from 9 to 18.
Oh, wow. And then, how did you end up living in New York?
Oh, so that's because I wanted to be a tattoo artist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in Colombia, I started tattooing, and I tattoo like all my friends in the neighborhood. And I have he's my dad's cousin. He's not
Okay.
my cousin, he's my dad's
You're that.
cousin. So he's like very old. but, but he does tattoos too. But he learned how to tattoo in jail. So he was doing
Okay.
tattoos over there in jail. And he lives in LA. And he was kind of like my motivation. Seeing him, how cool it was to be a tattoo artist and live from
Mm-hmm.
art. That's when I was like, oh, this is definitely what I want to do, because it seems like that's a good way to like make money, which at the end is what we all want, right? Like to
Yeah.
find a career that was gonna make us money to like survive in this world. So I told him like, yo, I want to go to LA. I've been tattooing, blah blah blah. He was like, yeah, come over. Um, he was more like, I'll give you a space for you to tattoo and start getting your own clients. So that's why I was like, fuck yeah. And I went to LA to do it. But
Okay.
then when I got there, he was completely different to what he told me it was gonna be.
Okay.
Like, he was like, you don't know how to tattoo, you're gonna be an apprentice. So I went from tattooing clients and having my own little studio at my mom's house to
Mm-hmm.
like be his assistant.
Oh,
So that
wow.
kind of like threw me off, because I felt like I was doing already bigger things. And even though he saw me like a little girl who was just starting, I didn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we argued, and I wanted to go to New York. Like, something in my head was like, no, I'm going to New York. I'm not going back to Colombia. And he was
Okay.
like, oh, you're going to New York? That city's gonna eat you. You're not gonna be able to make anything over there.
Oh
And
my
I was
god.
like, okay, whatever. I still did
You
it,
still want it,
right?
yeah.
And yeah, of course, the first 3 months were horrible.
Oh my
But
god.
then I don't know, like something happened and things started to working out, and that was the best decision I ever made, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's cool because like I want most of us like, or not most of us, like there's like that comment of like you're not gonna make it or they're gonna eat you, like that could get to into your head and then either really demotivate you and delay your process or just like completely just stop you from doing what you want. For you, like
Mm-hmm.
how, I guess we could go into like the obstacles that you face. Like, can you give like at least like those 2 months like an example of, like what you had to go through, and then like how did you start like overcoming the that obstacle in the beginning, and then we could talk like throughout this whole process, like what other limiting beliefs that or just either physical or like mental like actual limiting beliefs that kind of like were obstacles and then like you had to overcome.
I feel like obstacles, I feel like along the way, I will talk about my life, but I feel like in my entire life, everybody was telling me no, you know? I
Mm,
feel like if my obstacles weren't really me, I feel like it was more the other
okay.
ones. Like, I don't know, either for the way I was physically, because I always been a big girl.
Okay.
And since I was a little girl, I was always the tallest, the biggest. Then the fact that I was born in another country. So for my family, for my cousins, or for my little friends in Colombia, I wasn't Colombian enough, you know. And then
Okay.
moving to Spain, and then the kids being, rude because I was Latina.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh wow.
then I don't know, what else. I don't know. I feel like I always been very underestimated,
Mm.
and same with the graffiti world. I would start getting into the graffiti world. It will be someone else saying that I wasn't good enough to like do graffitis or things like that. Um, what else? When I came here to New York, the same thing, like what my cousin told me. But then also, I don't know. I feel like it's always like somebody trying to tell you no,
Yeah.
and it depends on you if you want to believe that or not. I remember also when I first got here to New York, like 7 years ago, there was this Colombian tattoo artist that back then used to be like known in Colombia.
Yeah.
I guess because back then, um, there was less people making it, so it
Mm.
seems like that he was like a goal, like somebody to look up for. And I met
Mm.
him, and I was very excited to like be his friend.
Yeah.
And one day I walked into a tattoo shop to ask for a job here in New York in by Union Square,
Okay.
and they gave me the job right away. So the next day I went, and he was working there, but I promise you I had no idea he was working there. Like I thought, like he had a few days there and then another few days in another shop.
Mm.
So
Okay.
when I saw him, he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Yo, I came yesterday to ask for a job, and they gave me the job, and this is my first day. I'm so excited, blah blah." Blah. And since that moment, he fucking completely changed with me and never say hi again. And then the days that I would go to the shop, he would make comments in front of me like, I don't want to be here anymore. They be hiring anybody.
Oh
Like
my
he was like,
god.
he changed completely with me because it was okay for me being a tattooer if I was back in Queens in the Latino area where no
Mm.
one knew about me, right? But
Yeah.
if I went to the city where all the big artists were, then I wasn't good enough for that.
Oh
So
wow.
those things, instead of like bringing me down and like making me feel like, oh no, I shouldn't be doing this, it was actually the things that were like boosting me, like, oh really, you think that about me? Well, let me
Mm.
show you.
Yeah. Prove me
And
wrong.
then I also had like my mom and my grandma with me all the time, and they are the hardest women that ever met. Like I don't know if because they're Latinas or something, but they always love to work and hustle really, really hard. And every time that I would feel like I was a little like sad or whatever, they were the first ones to be like, you're a Santana, you're gonna fucking kill it, you're fine, don't worry about that. So yeah, definitely they were a big, big help in my life.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing, like having a good support system,
Mm.
because sorry. Yeah, having a good support system, because you imagine like a bunch of people, and like meeting people who you think are gonna like bring you up, like, oh yeah, like good, you're doing this, let me give you some tips, let me give you advice, and say they start putting you down. What How did you like learn to, or did you, because you said this was what, like about 7 years ago, like I don't know,
Yeah,
we
eight
were
years ago.
8 years ago. How many women were, like, was it just you in New York? Like, how many female art tattoo artists were there, and like, how difficult was that for you?
Um, in most of the shops that I worked, there weren't female tattoo artists. And
Okay.
then the moment that I moved to a tattoo shop in Manhattan in the center. I mean no, that was like kind of like the Lower East Side. No, no, the village is called, well, whatever. That area. Um they weren't female tattoo artists in that shop, but then they hired a girl who did traditional old school, like like the more like traditional design tattoos. She used to do that style. Her name is Dominic. and she was very cool. And then I met another girl who was doing fine line. Her name is JK. She's from Korea, and they were like pretty much the only two girls doing it back then when I
Yeah.
started in that shop. But then one of them left the shop because the style of the shop wasn't for her, like the traditional one. We
Mm.
used to do more like fine line and small tattoos, and she didn't like to do those things, so she eventually moved to another shop that was more specified in that style.
Mm.
But JK and I, we kept doing it. We actually had an interview together
Oh.
for High Bay, and that was actually my first interview
Yeah.
in the States, and it was with her.
I see.
And then we quit Westford, like the shop that we used to work at, and then she did like her own thing, and I went to another shop, and yeah,
Yeah.
just keep growing. Now I see more girls tattooing for sure, but
Yeah.
when I started, and mostly in Colombia, it was the same. Like it was just me and another girl, and that was it.
Oh wow. How? Because I know, at least we hear all the time how, like, at least this is a very male, prominent, male dominant industry. So,
Hmm.
what were like, I guess like obstacles, like experiences that you had to like go through, and there's like, can you give like an example or like someone like that like you remember is like I still can't believe like this happened type of
As
stuff.
a good way or a bad way?
Good or bad, honestly. Maybe some add some good ones just so we know that men aren't that bad. But yeah, just like to kind of have like a picture of like what you had to go through in the beginning.
Okay, so the beginning when I started that, I actually started tattooing like years ago. I grabbed the first machine when I was 17, 18 years old, and then I went to Amsterdam to try it out for the first time because my brother lives there, and my mom was like, "Yeah, go over there and try to see." But she actually just wanted me to like be next to my brother. That's why she was pushing me to go. I think your micro is off. And
There's
okay
just
now.
noise.
Eh,
There's noise behind, so I don't wanna to be the background
I
noise in the video.
understand, but
Yeah.
then I get confused. I'm like, oh, what's happening?
No, no, you good, you good.
So I went to Amsterdam, and my brother knew a Colombian tattoo artist in Amsterdam that
Okay.
has his own shop and everything. So he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna talk with this guy to see if he's gonna hire you." And he went and talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, tell her to come over." So I fly from Colombia to Amsterdam to work in that shop, and the guy was very nice to me. He offered me the job. Amsterdam, things are a little different in terms of like payment and
Mm.
hiring people. It's not like a little, it's not as independent as in New York at least.
Okay.
So the guy was giving me a little like problems about that. He was like, "Oh, I want to make sure that you're gonna stay, so I can like actually write a contract for you because that's how things work over here." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But then like a month after, he kind of like party, got drunk, and try to like some to have something with me,
Yeah.
and I was like, whoa, what's happening? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like I was a little girl. I was like 20, 21, and this guy was fucking, I don't even know, like
Oh my
40, bro. Like,
god.
no, terrible, with kids and a wife. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? When he saw that I was like, no, not about it, he was like, oh well, you're not that good. I just hire you because
Oh
but
my
you as a
god.
tattoo artist, you're not that good. So I was like, amazing. So I literally had to like quit the next day, go back to Colombia and see what I could do, like
Yeah.
to keep tattooing. Um, so that was a bad experience as a female.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe throughout my career nowadays it's different because people, thanks to the internet, people have a better mindset and is more open,
Yeah.
and they don't have like these weird taboos or ignorant thoughts. But I
Mm-hmm.
still find from time to time maybe a client, a guy
Mm.
who starts questioning me if I'm able to do something, where if they had some interest in my work, they could like go to my Instagram, go to my portfolio,
Yeah.
see
Check
my
it.
work, and check if I'm actually able to do what they want.
Yeah.
But even if they see it, some people is like, but are you like, so it's like,
Yeah. Like
I
if
don't
you
know
don't
what I
trust
have to
me,
do,
you
like to
yeah.
prove you, like, or exactly, like you book me and you're here and you're questioning if I'm able to do this. Why are
Like
you doing that?
yeah. No, that's crazy. Is there a good like a good experience like someone that helped you out?
Oh yeah, of course. I also had like great bosses. The first boss that I had here when I first got here in 2000, by the end of 2015, he's a guy from the
Mhm.
Lebanese,
Even okay.
and he was really cool. I didn't have too much work in his shop. It wasn't that busy, but he understood and he saw potential in me, so he was always pushing me. He was very proud of having me in his shop. He helped me a lot. Thanks to him, I got my first iPhone, which is ridiculous because a lot of people here have their iPhone since forever. But for me, coming from Colombia and all of that, it was like a big thing in that
Yeah.
moment. It meant like I was making it, you know. So, and so he like helped me get the phone. And then when I moved to to another shop where things started changing,
Yeah.
the manager of that shop was really nice with me too. He's a Korean guy. I still have communication with him from time to time. He's a tattoo artist, very good tattoo artist here in New York, and he also was super nice with me. And um, people who like see you and they want you to progress and they give you little tips
Yeah.
or little advice. Those are the ones that like I appreciate the most. So this
For sure.
guy Evan, this Korean tattoo artist, he was a big help too. Then John Boy, I started working with him in that shop, John Boy Tattoo.
Mm.
He's also a really famous tattoo artist in this country, and he's crazy, but we got along very well. He's so crazy. I even took him to Colombia in 2017. I
Mm.
took him to my country and we had fun for a week, and
Oh wow.
he didn't even want to get back to the States.
Like let
So
me
he
stay here.
also was a really good friend and a really good help in my life. I'm always grateful for him, by the way. Like my life literally changed because he was tattooing like all these celebrities. Like
Oh wow.
he tattooed Kendall Jenner and Justin Bieber and
Oh
Hailey
oh
Bieber.
shoot.
He would bring all these people at the shop, and you know, I didn't tattoo them, but I was able to
You
like
were in
be
there.
around them and learn, which was the big thing, learn.
Yeah. Have
Who else? Let me say thank you to all the guys that helped me. So John Boy was a big one too. Also Rob, he's a piercer, and thanks to him was that I met all these other two guys that I just mentioned because
mhm.
we used to like smoke and hang around, and he pierced in that shop. So because I was
Okay.
there that day hanging around with him, that's how I met the other two, and they like hired me. And then I moved to another shop, and Kevin is a photographer. He's a well-known photographer here in
Okay.
New York. He does like mostly like metal and rock photography for
Mhm.
like big bands. But when I moved from the shop where I was and I started guest spotting in this other new shop he was managing, he was also really amazing and he let me do anything I wanted because the shop where he was managing, it was a little like those tattoo shops where you go and the music is like extremely loud and it's rock or
Mm.
metal and the tattoo artists are all like long hair and you're a girl, you're like, I feel like this is not my place. That was that place. So
Okay.
when I went there with a girl who used to manage me, um, we like literally changed the entire shop. And the tattooers that were there, they were so pissed. We were like, we don't want this music. Our clients are not gonna like that. We need to put something more friendly. We need to give them snacks. We need to be able to offer water. Like, what's
Oh wow.
happening?
Yeah, yeah.
So the other artists didn't like that, but Kevin, he was like all about it. He was like, okay, okay, we're gonna do this.
Mm.
So he would literally listen to me and
Yeah.
say and do what I was saying. So he was a really cool dude. So I'm grateful for him too.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
after that, I met my actual boss right now, where I've been
Mm.
working for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And he also saw potential in me. He offered me the job at his shop. And since the moment I met him, I had a lot of respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working for him since then because he knows what he's doing, and I like that.
Yeah. Have you? First, that's awesome that you actually have met amazing men that actually helped you in your career. Have you seen at least like more recently? Have you seen more women like in high positions in the tattoo industry? Like maybe not in the shops that you work, but like just in there, like just in general. Have you met like women who are in? Because your boss would be what? Will he also be a tutorist, or he's just like managing the shop? Like how does
He
that work?
he's a tattooer. He's not tattooing as much as he used to, of course, because he's busy. But he was a tattoo. He was tattooing a lot. He was the one who tattooed Rihanna and
Oh
then
shit! Oh.
Justin Bieber chest. I feel like that's how he got his popularity, and he was able to create the business that he has
Mm-hmm.
thanks to that popularity. So yeah,
Okay.
he's a tattoo artist. Other females that are big, I guess the ones that I met are girls who did it before me.
Okay.
So those are the ones that I can point out right now. Like for example, this Colombian girl, Tattoo Baby, she was in Ink Master, that TV
Mm.
show that used to like reality that used to air like years ago. And she's also Colombian, so she was like a big look up for me, of course.
Mm.
So when I met her in a tattoo convention, it was nice to to say hi to her and
Yeah.
shit. And she looks like she's doing great. She opened up her own shop.
Oh.
He have a lot of followers. She keeps tattooing bigger people, so that's awesome for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other tattoo artist called Megan Massacre. She's
Okay.
from New York. She was in a reality show called New York Inc., I think.
Mm-hmm.
That one I didn't watch that show, but I know it existed, and that's how she got popular. Megan.
Yeah.
And she's also a person. When I started, I used to look up for her. Be as big in terms of like being so talented and known. And I never thought I would be able to like be so close to artists like that.
Yeah.
But life is funny, and eventually I end up having friends in common with her,
Oh.
and she started following me, and I was like, oh
Oh.
my god, she's following me. And she knows who I am. I think she thinks that I'm good, so it's like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
doing things.
For sure.
And yeah, other girls, I don't know. I work with girls that are making it, like they're. I don't know if we have the same age tattooing, but we are kind of close in age.
Mm-hmm.
And all the females that I work at Bang Bang, they're all like killing it. They're beasts. So it's like admiration,
Yeah.
but at the same time it's like, oh my god, I can't be behind. I have to like keep, because it's like a very healthy competition over
Yeah.
there. We all want to like bring the name up of the place that we work at.
That's interesting that you mentioned that. How, like, you said it was like a healthy competition. How do you keep that balance where it doesn't turn into a negative competition or like that jealousy or like, yeah, that jealousy part? Or the on comparison is a very big thing where like that goes so create a negative spiral. So how do you keep that balance or keep it in a healthy competition? And then you also mentioned like to bring your name up. How as a tattoo artist, like, how do you keep doing that? Like how is there like a hierarchy or is it like once you hit a celebrity, like are you like already oh like
No.
how does that work?
Okay, so the I think the part of where you turn things negative and all of that, I feel like that depends on the person you're working with.
Okay.
I feel like it depends on your mindset too. I've worked with people, like I've been working in different shops, and I know a lot of people. So I've met a lot of people and worked with a lot of people. So I've been in shops or situations where other artists have this kind of energy where they're literally haters. And
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I had arguments, I had discussions, and I had moments where I had to grab a tattoo artist, take him outside, and be like, "Why are you talking? Like, what are you saying? Why you know? Why
Yeah.
are you being like this? Like, that's not true. Like, you know."
Mhm.
But I feel like I've always been the same person and the same energy, and I always like to keep it real. That's why also hip hop has been a big part in my life. I feel like it
Okay.
teach me a lot, and having respect and being real, that's like a big thing.
Mhm.
So for me, that never happened. I never had jealousy. I never felt less than anybody. I never felt like I had to step over somebody. I think that's
Mm.
ridiculous. I feel like everybody has their own opportunities, their own moment to shine.
Yeah.
And I always knew that my moment was gonna come if in that moment wasn't happening. But at the same time, I never felt like someone was bigger than me, or oh,
Mm.
because this person is shining more than me, I'm gonna like be an asshole or is my
Yeah.
competition or anything. No, hell no. Because you know your own limits and you know your own capacities. And I'm not
Okay.
gonna hate on somebody who literally is killing it. And even if I try, I can make the tattoos he's doing. I'm not gonna be hitting why. I'll be
Yeah.
like, if anything, I'll be like, all right, well, I know I can't do this, but I'm gonna try where with what I can do, make it better,
Mhm.
and make it that like my thing.
Yeah.
Um, what was the other question?
The bring. How do you grow as a tattoo artist? Because I said like, oh, is it like celebrity status? Like how do you
Oh, okay.
grow?
Oof, that part I don't know.
Like I'm figuring it
because
out.
because when I first got here, I thought that was the way, like if you tattoo
Mm.
a celebrity, that's how you like, oh shit, you're doing big things because
Mm.
a person who have access or to, to things that you can't have,
Yeah.
picking you as the artist makes you exclusive, right? So yeah, of course that influence in regular people to like think that you are doing good because celebrities are getting tattoos by you, but that doesn't mean that you are making a big name or you are the best. you
Mm.
know
Okay.
if anything, it just gets you to be more known, so other people will pick between you or this other person
Mm-hmm.
to get tattooed. They will be like, oh no, I'll go with the girl who tattooed Becky G.
Yeah.
But I don't think that makes me better than other tattoo artists in terms of technique or
Yeah.
things like that. Um, and create a name. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I all I know, and I keep applying since the moment that I decided to be a tattoo artist, was that I wanted people to get tattooed by me every day. Like when I first started tattooing, I was worried that I wasn't gonna be good enough for people to want to get a piece by me.
Mm.
So I always so when I decided to be a tattoo artist, that means that if you don't get to tattoo nobody, you don't get to eat,
Mm.
pretty much. Because how else you gonna get paid?
Yeah.
If I go to a tattoo shop, they're not gonna pay me per hour just to sit there and see if a
Mm.
client comes in. They only pay me if I actually do a tattoo on somebody and that person
Okay.
pays for that tattoo. So that's how I get my money. So the moment that I decided that I wanted to be a tattoo artist, that was like my big concern.
Yeah.
I need to be good enough so people will come to me and I wouldn't spend a day worrying like how I'm gonna pay my rent or how I'm gonna buy me food.
Yeah.
That was like my big concern, and it still is my
Okay.
big concern. Other stuff that came with it, like um having these interviews from all these amazing magazines that
Mm.
look at me and thought that I was good enough to like talk about me.
Yeah.
That was something that I never expected. I never thought that would happen to me. I'm still getting surprised every time. Even with you when you told me, I was like, Casey, that's amazing. I love that. It makes me feel like I'm doing the things right, makes me
Yeah.
feel blessed. And I don't know, I just feel like it's all about hard work. I always had, or again, the influence of my mom and my grandma, this Latino mentality. They
Yeah.
were like, My grandma used to say like, el que se ha comedido se gana lo que está escondido, which means like the person who's like willing to do anything even if nobody's asking for it. Like you go to the
Mm,
shop and you're supposed to just tattoo, but maybe you
yeah.
can grab a broom and like clean,
Such
you
a
know,
yeah.
even if that's not your job, but someone is gonna notice that you are willing
Mm-hmm.
to do all those things. So maybe they're saving something special for you.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, they keep you in a better mindset or whatever. So that's
Mm-hmm.
some those are things that my grandma and my mom teach me. And because I saw them how hard worker were them, I
Yeah.
did the same. Like I wouldn't care if I was sick or if I was hangover or whatever. I would always show up to work.
Yeah.
I've never missing my appointment until this day. I'm proud that there's still people saying that I'm one of the hardest workers that they ever met because I have no excuses when it comes to
Yeah.
my job. You know,
Yeah.
my personal life is another thing, but my job, I'm very like 100% on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have two questions that came up, but the first one that I remember because I forgot the second question now. I'm reading this book called Uncolonized Latinas, and they talk about, I don't know if you heard about it, but they talk about the colonized mindset where working like um one of them that I remember was like because of the colonized mindset, we are kind of like ingrained or to think that we're not worthy or have to work hard or harder than the rest of us than the rest of like other people um to kind of like get to where we want to be. So for you, how have you like kept that balance of like being like see how do you say ser acomodida and like do a little bit more than you have to, but then not go overboard and then being able to set your boundaries in that, because I think that could go into like people pleasing, or it could go just overworking and overburning yourself where you lead to burnout. So for you, how have you like kept that balance of like, okay, I'm gonna do a bit more than I'm supposed to, but then I'm also not gonna overdo it and then get burnout.
I feel it depends on the situation. You should be able to read the energy of the environment where you at and the person you're working
Okay.
for, and if you think like the environment is good and you want to be there, then I don't see why not do more,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you're doing more and no one is seeing or it's not worth it, then don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Um, I see what you're saying about because we are Latinas, and we have to work harder for to get the things that is true. But I think to me, it's been more. I feel like if I grew up here and I had the accent of people who actually was born and lived
Mm.
their entire lives here. Ooh, what happened?
Let's
Uh,
zoom in.
um, if that happened to me, I probably had less of that of the oh, I have to work more, because I feel
Mm.
like a lot of people underestimate me too because of my accent. You know, when
Oh
people
wow.
think like if you don't speak well, that means that you're stupid, and it's like no, I
Oh shit.
sound much more smarter in Spanish. Well, I
Mm.
actually don't. And in Spanish, I also talk mad weird. But what I'm trying to say is like my accent doesn't mean that I'm less smart than
Yeah.
other person. It's maybe because I don't care about trying to speak better. Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, what I really focus is doing my job right. And if
Yeah.
I'm doing a great tattoo piece, it shouldn't matter how I speak. Because
Yeah.
if I care about those things, I would have been like a communicator, you know, working in, I don't know, like
Yeah.
the news, TV, or if I
Mm.
care about my image, I would be a model, or I would, you know,
Yeah.
but I only care about what I was doing with my hands. So no,
Yeah. Your accent shouldn't be an influence with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But then the other part, I also, because I grew up in another country and my influence were all female Colombian females, then yeah, I definitely see that as that I had to like offer more to be able to
Mm.
be seen. And I can see how maybe a girl who was born here can be like more chill
Mm.
somehow, or had like a little bit of a different mentality where I feel like people here are more like oh well, if I don't like it, I do whatever I want, and they just quit the job, and then it's more
And
like
yeah,
disposable.
yeah,
Like the opportunity of being in a shop, they see it as that's not like a big opportunity. They can be in any shop and they don't care.
mm-hmm.
It's true, and I see it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm more into the like grateful side. So
Yeah,
I'm more like it's more like my mindset where I'm like, oh no, I'm here, blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, my boss can have a bad day. That's normal. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
things can go wrong for a moment. That's okay. We're still alive. We still have
yeah,
health. We can still work. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I don't know. It depends on the mindset. It's like
yeah,
the same with the jealousy and haters and competition. It depends on how you see the world. To me, I have no
mm-hmm.
competition, and I do. Everybody's better than me. But to me, in my heart, no, I'm doing great.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. Like, it keeps you grounded, and it keeps you and it stops you from comparison and then going into that negative spiral. Because I don't remember where I heard it, but probably a podcast where it's like once you start hitting that negativity, it goes into a spiral. But it's like el caos. So I think it was the Spanish one. So el caos, it's like that negativity or that chaos. It's a spiral thingy, but that spiral doesn't it doesn't get thinner. It gets thicker. So the more chaos you have, the more it's gonna create even more chaos, and it's not gonna be just the same level. It's gonna be like a higher level of chaos, which sucks. Is
Hmm.
then it's like you start attracting that negativity and that environment. So yeah, that's definitely important to you remember to remind yourself like that you are good, like at least authentically, like you know what you're worth. um I had a
No, and
quick.
it's it's important to maintain that mentality because honestly, I've noticed our worst enemy is ourselves. It's our head.
Yes.
Is what we have in here.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I know I'm good and I know I'm doing good, but maybe I can have like 2 weeks of like regular work and nothing incredibly happening in my life, and I'm already
Yeah.
feeling like, oh no, I'm failing. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. You know.
Instead of being
And then
proactive and then go find more
uh-huh.
clients or something like that. Yeah.
Or like or chill or calm down. Like, your head is start like
Reflect.
overthinking,
Yeah.
and it's just like, no, you're good. You know.
Yeah, there's this quote I shared this on the last podcast episode. There's it says, if you must doubt something, doubt your limits. And I thought that was like awesome because it's we you said like our sometimes our biggest enemy is ourselves, our head, our beliefs, what we think about ourselves. And it's like if you're gonna doubt something, like doubt that, because once you start like breaking those things, like you start seeing that that's not true, and then you see that you see it as like you deserve things, and things are gonna come to you as long as you put in the work as well, of course. um I had another question. You mentioned in the beginning how you weren't like Latina enough or Colombian enough to the people that you were. Like, how was that experience? Because I think a lot of us, at least like myself too, I was born in Mexico and I came here when I was 4 years old. So even when I speak Spanish, they tell me like I sound like a gringa, or just I have a different accent, like not a Mexican accent, or like whatever that is, because there's so many accents in there. But for you, like, how was that experience? Like, yeah, or how did that even influence you and how you grew up?
But what about being born in somewhere else or?
Yeah, just like not being Latina enough or Colombian enough, like to the
Oh
people
yeah,
that you
yeah.
were.
Um, I think I embraced it since I was a little girl because it wasn't not only the fact that they would think that I wasn't Colombian enough because I
Mm-hmm.
was born here. Like it was funny because kids are rude,
Yeah.
kids are the worst. So the moment they realized that I was born in New York and I was going to school in Colombia, they will be like, "So why you don't speak English?" You know?
Mm.
And I was just like, so that forced me, since I was like 4 years old, I can remember very well
Oh my god.
being like obsessed to try to learn English by myself because kids would make fun of me because I didn't knew how to speak English like that well,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Oh
with the accent and
wow.
all of that. And I was a little girl doing that. And that also helped me that, like I said, my mom used to live in Amsterdam
Mm-hmm.
since I was 6 years old. So she would like send my grandma and I to visit her.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma, well, she was very old back then. Still, I was a little girl, but she was old and she didn't know English. So it was me in the airport trying to
Mm,
figure out where
yeah.
was the gate or where to pick up the baggage, reading the signs, me being 6 years old, figuring it out
Yeah.
in an airport in fucking Edinburgh, Berlin, trying to get, or Brussels, trying to get to Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
So that also forced me to like learn it. Um, but it was that, and then the size of my body, because also somehow I'm taller compared to like the regular size of people in Colombia.
Mm.
And Latinos are a little bit more shorter.
Yeah.
So that also was another reason to like people to try to bring me down or make me feel like I was different.
Mm.
um so since that so if because that happened since I was a little girl, it's just like it became part of me. Like I understood very young that I was gonna be different, and instead of
Okay.
feeling sad about it, I kind of like took advantage of it. I don't know if it's
Mm-hmm.
because also I have two older brothers, like I said before,
Yeah.
and and somehow their attitude, the way they were, it was normal for me. So I kind of like adapt a lot of
Mm.
like their personality.
Yeah.
So I was more like a tomboy, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
and that kind of like helped me too. They were also bullying me a lot when I was a little girl. So I feel like I'm formed from a lot of bullying.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then in Spain, that happened too. I went to Spain and I wanted to go to a public school, and my mom was like, "No, I want to pay for a private school
Oh
because she
wow.
thought it was gonna be better for my education."
Yeah.
And she didn't listen to me, even though I was the one living the reality of being a teenager in
Mm.
Spain, not her. I saw how cool it was going to a public institute like a high school and see other kids from other countries going to the same school like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she would like try to put me in a private school. So I spent my high school years in a private school, and I was the only one that was Latina. The other
Oh
ones
shit.
were from Spain, or like their parents were from Germany or Sweden, like really rich people.
Yeah.
So it was like not the
Not the
best
experience.
experience either. So I was bullied for that too. To
Oh
them,
wow.
I was black. My mom is black. She's like Afro Latina.
Okay.
So one day she went to school to like a meeting, like parents meeting, and
Mm-hmm.
some girl who I don't know if you hear about that, but in Spain there was some guy called Franco who like also did like a few years of like a regiment where it was like kind of like a Hitler kind of
Oh
vibe
shit.
where
Okay.
everybody was believing like being Spanish was the best shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of kids back then. I don't know now, but when I went to school in Spain in 2000, from 2000 to 2007, 2008, um, the kids at school would go with bracelets with the Spanish flag, t-shirts with the Spanish flag,
Yeah.
backpacks with the Spanish flag. Like they were obsessed for being from Spain,
Yeah.
like really like hardcore nationalism. So and most of them were the kids that used to do that are the kids that had money or they think they
Mm.
had money. So I went to school with all of them. So it was
Oh
like
damn.
again, like I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
And one of those girls one day when my mom went, she was like, "Oh, I saw your mom and I thought she was like the cleaning lady because she's black."
Oh
Bro,
my
I went
god.
I went on her and I fucking pulled her hair, I kicked her,
Yeah.
I did the worst things to her. Like I went savage, and then the
Oh my god.
the the director, the principal
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
school, they put us together in a room, and of course you, Michelle, you are. He say you eres una barrio bajera. That's how he defined me. That word stood in my head for so
Barrio.
many years. Barrio bajera, like I was
Mm-hmm.
the from the lowest neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
for acting that way. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great. So she's insulting my mom, saying that she's the clean lady because of her skin tone,
Skin
but
tone.
I'm the one who is from the
On the back end.
lowest. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
was
crazy.
fun. But the
Yeah.
good thing is like when they called my mom to tell them like I was in trouble, and then she heard this story, she was like, whatever. She
Yeah.
of course she was on my side.
Of
She
course. Yeah.
understood.
That's crazy. Yeah. So public school would have been more different.
Oh yeah, I
Did
feel like the public school would have like, you know, made me feel more
that's
comfortable.
bullying.
Less
That's
bully, yeah.
very yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I've never experienced bullying, so I was always the quiet kid. So I just isolated myself from. I never had friends or anything like that. Just not experienced it. But I want to go into in the podcast we have a bit of like talk about finances, just because I feel like as a Latinidad community or whatever Latinx community, we tend to think about money like either taboo, like we don't talk about it, or when we do talk about it, it's like arguments or a very scarcity mindset. So for you being a tattoo artist now who's like very prominent, I imagine you're making more money than like before. So how has your relationship with money evolved? Like how was it in the beginning and like how is it now?
All right. So when I first started tattooing, I did it in Colombia, and of
Mm-hmm.
course I wasn't making money. Like I will do tattoos for exchange. So sometimes I even did tattoos for weed, because I
Okay.
I smoke weed. So I did a couple tattoos for weed when I was living there when I first started tattooing, and then sadly in Colombia there's not many people like we like that can afford
Mm-hmm.
having a decent life plus being able to buy the things they want, at least
Mm-hmm.
2 3 things in a month. So I had to charge very low.
Okay.
Then I opened my own shop, and I wanted to buy my own house, and I couldn't because it wasn't giving me enough.
Mm.
And so that's why I decided to come to New York and try to make it. Um, I wanted to have my own house because as a good mom daughter Latinas, when I was growing up, my mom and I used to be more like sisters,
Mm.
like fighting sisters,
Oh.
not like sisters that get along. No, she didn't see me as her daughter. She used to see me as her worst
Oh god.
sister. So that pushed me also to wanting to do my own thing and find
Mm. Do
my
more
own
independent.
place. And because I used to smoke weed, she would criticize me a lot about that. But then I was like, yo, you took me to Amsterdam when I was 6 years old. Every summer I spent it in Amsterdam, and she would like buy me things like socks to go to school, like socks for my feet with leaf print on it. And then she was surprised that I became a stoner. I was just like, are you kidding me? So
That's
back then she used to like criticize me a lot about that. She would like throw out my weed on the
wow.
toilet and go and get crazy, open my bag, see what I had,
Yeah.
like too controlling and trying to like, make me do what she wanted, and I didn't want to do what she wanted.
Mm.
So that also pushed me to like try to be better and do my own thing. Um so back then it wasn't that easy, and then when I moved to New York and I started making money, the first thing that I wanted to do was buy my own house.
Mm.
So the first year and a half I literally made the biggest sacrifices ever that I never thought, like people never think about doing those things, but it actually worked. Like if you really really focus on yourself and your goal, and you
Mm-hmm.
literally wake up with that mindset, like that goal in your head, and you spend all day thinking about that, and then before going to bed you keep thinking about it, and you keep about it so much that you already feeling like it's happening without being happening. But I wanted that house so bad that I would like literally visualize it and feel it in my head and in my
Oh
heart.
wow.
And of course, no, it's not only imagination. Of course, I had to like
Work for
save
it.
and work for it. But it was like in that moment, it felt so okay for me to like have that mindset and do those sacrifices. With sacrifices, I mean, like for example, I was what like 24 when I started saving for the house, and when you're 24, 25, you just want to party, you just want to like, have fun, whatever. But I didn't care about those things. I would like, and because I was here in New York and I saw the change of the money, like for example, like weed in Colombia is so cheap, and then coming here and pay like $20 for like nothing that I would smoke in like 1, 2 days, and that same money in Colombia would give me weed for a whole week.
Oh
That was
wow.
like, oh my God, that's a lot. So I was like very cheap. I was super cheap. I would eat the cheapest food. This $1 slice pizza from the corner. That would be my diet for months.
Oh
Or
wow.
McDonald's, like the cheapest thing, so I could save money. And those were the sacrifices, not going out, like
Yeah.
really, really. And because I would see like progress every day, that also motivates you.
Yeah.
Of course you do the sacrifices when you see like it's working. But if you spend 2, 3 days without tattooing, then how you gonna make sacrifice? Like from where you gonna like save if you're not
Yeah.
making the money? But once the money started coming in, I was just having fun saving it, saving it, saving it.
Oh wow.
You know. And
Yeah.
then after getting the house, then yeah, after getting the house, which was like my first big goal that I achieved. Of course, then I went off and I fucking traveled. I went to Europe. I went to Mexico like
Oh
five
wow.
times after the
Awesome.
house. That's when I enjoyed the result of my hard work.
Yeah.
But before, like the first thing was like trying to like put a roof on my head first and then enjoy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like have that. I was gonna say balance, but it's like in the beginning, do the sacrifice, do what you want to do, and then have the balance. How
Yeah. I mean,
I
my grandma used to say, tienes que aprovechar que estás joven, que no te duele el cuerpo. And
yeah,
she would
she
tell me
said
those
that.
things, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. When you're young, you can work 12, 15 hours straight, no problem. I was from 12 to 12 in the shop
Oh wow.
every day, you know. I'm still able to do it, no problem. But I'm sure in a few years when I turn 40, that's when I'm gonna start feeling like the pain in my body and things like that people say. So
Yeah.
it's true that you have to do it when you're young.
Yeah, I could see. I probably should be doing that now. 'Cause I don't work a lot.
But still, you have time because then now I'm like, now that I'm 30, I'm like, my mindset is more like in a 20. Like,
Mm,
I want to party and be more
yeah.
out and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm too old for that. Like,
Yeah.
when you go to reggaeton parties and you see everyone, they're like
The
in their 20s, and
20.
I'm like, I feel a little old
This is
now
not
for
my
this.
this is not my environment.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, I was gonna ask you something else. How now that you have a healthier relationship with money and then you've been able to travel, how have you learned how to like budget and all of that? Like, have you read books or listened to podcasts or any resources that helped you? One with like limiting beliefs that we tend to grow up with, or just like in general, like actual managing your money. Like, have you learned anything through other either YouTubers, social
I'm
media?
actually really bad in that.
Oh,
Like
really?
I said, like my first goal was buying the house,
Yeah.
and then after that, I just wasted money. And I mean, it seems like I keep doing it. I don't have really good financial like uh, how I said it. Like I don't have like a routine. I actually only
Mm,
this year finally said like, oh, I need to stop and I really need to save. So
okay.
I started doing this thing where you save 10,000 in a year, I think it was, or something like that,
Yeah.
where you put away $200 every week or $400. I don't remember because I
246.
don't do
Yeah.
it like that. I just do it every time I have $100 bill cash. I just put it in the piggy bank and I forget that I have it.
All
So
right.
that's been the only way for me to save money, because other
Yeah.
ways like put it in the bank because I see the numbers, so you know how much you have.
Yeah.
It's tricky because then I'm like, oh no, I'm good. So you start spending, and since it's in my bank, it
Yeah.
makes me it's easier to like order online things because you're on your
Yeah.
phone all the time. So you're like, oh yeah, I can buy this, blah blah, because you have the money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't work for me. The only way that
Yeah.
I learned that I can save is literally every time that I have cash.
Mm-hmm.
I like it to be $100 bills because then you see more progress.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it's your own money, so you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's good that you put it that way. So one time I did fill up like a piggy bank like this,
Oh shit.
and then when I saw that no more bills got inside the
Mm-hmm.
piggy bank, I broke it, and to see all the money that I saved for all those months was very like a big
Satisfying.
motivation. So I was like, oh shit, I want to do it again. So now I'm building another one. So that's the
Oh,
way
okay.
I do to like save money for me. That works for me.
Yeah. No, what I started, I opened, I don't know if you heard of what a high yield savings account is, but it's pretty much like the bank. It's usually an online bank, and they give you interest on the money that you have saved. So I have my Bank of
Oh,
America, and then I have my high yield savings account. So from there, the money that I had, I think this month I made about like $10, which it might not be a lot for some
no,
people,
but
but
it's
compared
good.
to Bank of America where they give you like 1 cent, it's a big difference. So yeah, and then I also got a money coach. So she was like, get your value category. So whatever for me, it's like education. I love courses or like learning stuff or books. So I have my category for that, and then I have travel. I have I want to buy a car, so I have my car, my security fund. So all of that. So I'm good right now with my savings, but yeah, that definitely helped me on like not spending as much as I should. Like if I want to go out, I know I only have this specific amount of money to go out. So once it's gone,
Yeah.
it's like I can't go out anymore. Like I'm
Oh,
sorry, are
that's
you staying?
awesome. Like I had no idea that you could do things like that. Like have a coach for that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the thing. That's another thing for growing up in another country, having Latino parents. My mom, she never saved apparently, but she
Oh
was a
well.
person who like when she had the money, then she would buy the things, and
Mhm.
she don't have the money, then no. So I
Yeah.
kind of like have that same mindset. I never thought about like asking for a loan for my house. I was just literally, I'm gonna save the entire money
Oh
and then
wow.
buy the house,
Yeah.
and that's literally what I did. Like I saved almost $200,000, and I
Oh
fucking
shit.
bought a house in Colombia, and that was it. So that's how I do
200.
my things. Well, because I had the opportunity, like of
Yeah.
course other people had to like take, with the bank and stuff. But since if I see the opportunity that I can do it that way, then I'll do it.
Mhm.
Like buying a phone 1,500 right away instead of like do it with T-Mobile
Monthly.
or whatever or AT&T, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like that's the important thing because like sometimes like those things do help. Like imagine like saving a lot of money and having that discipline to do so. That was really good. But then there's like other I would say like other strategies or other resources that we could use to kind of help us like grow even at least with the financially like, do it faster. Like work smart, not hard type of thing that we also have to
Mm.
have that balance.
I
Um
can see how that's different from Colombia because now that you said that, that makes sense because a lot of people over there they don't have like like education, financial
yeah.
education. So if they don't see the money, like how I just told you, like if you don't like pack it together
Yeah.
and then spend it, then you don't see any other way to where you can achieve those goals. But it's
Yeah.
actually true if you have like some education and someone
Yeah.
guiding you, you can have with the $1,000 you make in a month, you can make a growing if you
Yeah.
know if you're smart with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, I mean, those who are listening, if they want a money coach session, there's like three, I believe, money coaches I interview. So check them out and see which one's good for
Oh
you.
yeah, I will.
If not, like there, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of money coaches out there that are also like very very good. Before we almost end, because we're almost in the time limit, I want to talk about your tattoo, like your tattoo art, your creativity process, all of that, like first, is as let me ask, like, what's your style, like? Because I know you've done like minimalist or like, I'll let you explain like what your tattoo style is. Like, how did you get started into that, or has it evolved throughout the years?
It has evolved a lot because when
Okay.
I started tattooing, the reason why I started tattooing is because I saw 50 Cent's back,
Mhm.
and he dropped an album called Get Rich or Die Trying. and the
Okay.
album has his tattoo on his back, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole entire piece that says 50, and then inside there's something going on like a city, like
Okay.
LA stuff. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I saw who did it. It was Mr. Cartoon, also an artist from LA.
Okay.
And
Start to-
seeing like I always felt related with the street art. And I also like a lot the Chicano culture
Mm-hmm.
because I felt very like connected with that in
Yeah.
the sense of like you being Latino, but not really Latino because you don't
Mm-hmm.
live in Latin America, you're in the United
Yes.
States, but people judge you, but you like, but we have this, like, I don't know, Latinos, we are like more dangerous, more street, like, of course, not everybody, but at least in my family, it is like that. So I've seen a lot of things going on in my family and seeing the art from the Chicanos, it made me feel related, like, the clown, the jail,
Mm-hmm.
the cars,
Yeah.
all these good, bad things. They smile now, cry later, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. That's like a good mindset that I felt like related. So for me, I felt attracted to the Chicano art, and I wanted to do lettering because of graffitis too. I really
Okay.
love the lettering, like a script, like really intricate with ornaments and like the realism black and gray
Mm-hmm.
style. So I started doing pieces like that. In my shop in Colombia, when I opened it in 2014, looks like that. It has a lot of inspiration like that. I even created a wall with all the artists that I always loved,
Yeah.
like singers, rappers, and also graffiti and artists, plastic artists. And it's funny because that wall years later, one I brought one of the artists that I like to my shop from LA to Colombia. His name is Sick Jacken from Psycho Realm. And Norm, that was a tattoo artist I also brought to my shop from LA to Colombia.
Yeah.
And I didn't even in that moment I forgot completely that I had that wall with them inside in that wall.
Oh
And
wow.
they saw themselves and they were like, yo, what am I doing here? I'm like, I forgot that I put you there years ago and now you're here. It's crazy.
Oh wow.
So that was amazing. And it was amazing also because those were the things that I wanted to do when I first started tattooing. But then when I moved to New York and I started working with John Boy and Evan, the artists that I told you before, they were the ones who popularized, like, make more popular the fine line tattoos. So all the people that
Finally.
would come to the shop, they would want to get that style of tattoos. So I started doing it because I wanted to make money to save for my house and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was able to do the firelight tattoos. People started liking it, and
Okay.
little by little, my style changed, and I started being more known for the fine line
Mm.
style, minimalistic.
Yeah.
That didn't mean that I didn't like to do the other style. It's just like the opportunities that were coming for me were from that line,
Finally.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually somehow I became also one of the first females, at least in New York, to do that style. So that gave me a
Oh wow.
name. So it wasn't like meant for me to like change my style. I feel like
Mm.
it was destiny and the
Yeah.
people who made me be this way. But I'm also very grateful, and it's really hard to do because you don't have a
Yeah.
space to like mess up. With the bigger
Okay.
pieces, you like, oh, well, I add a little more shaded, darker here, and you'll see it. But with a tiny little thing, simple thing, there's no room to have mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's why my style changed. So right now, I don't know how I can define my style. I feel like um, it's funny because again, you see my work and you see the fine line and the small size, so you would think like uh, I think like people think that that's only my style, but I don't know if
Mm.
it's because of my personality or somehow they can see me in my work on my Instagram. I don't
Okay.
post as much as myself. Lately, I have, but I have 2,700 pictures in my Instagram.
Oh wow.
So there's a lot of tattoos there, and there's so many others that I never posted.
Mm.
So I feel like I've been already over 3,000 people that I tattoo.
Oh shit. Oh wow.
And but if you see this, most of the posts are tattoos, and but somehow people see me, like they see my personality, or they can see what I like. And it's weird when a person who I never met before comes to me and they're like, "Oh, I wanna get your lettering. I think your lettering is so gangsta. You're so fire, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yo, I haven't done that many. How you know that? How you
Yeah.
know that I can do that if I haven't posted that much?" I don't know.
Oh wow.
So that's great. Yeah.
As a tour, is like, can you go like back and forth with styles, or is it like
Oh yeah,
how
yeah.
would that work?
I feel like for me, I had to be very versatile with my style, because
Yeah.
you never know, you have opportunities and you gotta be able to like do them if you really want to take the opportunity. And it's funny because I'm wearing
Mm.
this T-shirt today. This is J Balvin in the
Mm.
Oasis.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
he dropped a merch a few years ago
Mm-hmm.
about some song he did with Bad Bunny. So they dropped this T-shirt,
Okay.
and it's funny that I'm wearing this today because I finally got in touch with him, like for real. And I've been hanging at his studio. Well, not hanging. I've been tattooing at
Oh,
his
okay.
while he was making music this weekend,
Oh.
and it's been like a big, incredible blessing for me.
Yeah.
And why I was saying that? Oh yeah. So those are the things where you gotta be able to do whatever the person wants. Like I had
Yeah.
this opportunity. I'm not tattooing him. I'm tattooing
Mm.
somebody else that works with him. But I've been in the studio with him while he's making music. I've seen his creative process while I'm also doing my creative process
Yeah.
tattooing. And maybe if maybe they ask me for something a little bigger with more detail or color. I don't do color. You want color, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I don't
Okay.
do it. I used to do it back years ago. I know how to apply colors, but personally I don't like tattoos in color, so that's why I don't
Yeah.
offer them in my Instagram. But if
Mm.
somebody like him
Comes.
or somebody that works for him ask me for something like that, I'll do it.
Mm.
Because I'm
Okay.
not gonna let the opportunity go. There's so
Yeah.
many other tattooers. Anybody could be in that place. So the fact that I was picked, like I was
Yeah.
given the opportunity, I wasn't gonna waste it.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
you gotta be ready for anything. You
Mm.
know,
That's a good one. You gotta be ready for everything or anything.
yeah.
Um. Now that you were talking about like the creative process, how's your creative process? Is there like something that you do before tattooing that helps you like kind of like focus? And then how's it? I'll ask that creative process, and then like how's the actual like doing the tattoo? Like how like what goes through your head when you're doing like is it just like focus? Are you thinking about something else? Do you put music? What's your process?
Well, I feel like it depends on the person or the situation.
Okay.
If I had more time, I would take more time
Mm,
thinking and seeing more options and things like that. But it's like when people ask me like, why don't you have many paintings, or where is your art? Why don't you
mm,
have like pre-designs done?
yeah.
And I'm like, well, because I don't have time. Because when I had the time to do those things, I wasn't making money, you know.
Mm,
I had all day to like paint and think about things that I would want to do on people. So when the people
mm,
come, I will have something ready.
yeah.
But I made my career grow in a level where I literally only work or design when it's time, when I'm in the Times or being at the
Mm,
shop
yeah.
working for a client. If I'm not there, then I go home and I try to disconnect from that, because even though I
Mm,
love my job and that's literally the only thing I think about, when you're out and you're just trying to live your life and someone else find out that you're a tattooer, the
mm,
first thing they will come is be like, so what you think about this? I'm trying to get this, blah 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 blah. And you're like,
mm.
oh yeah, no, that sounds like a consultation. Somebody else will literally book for me to talk to him in the shop about their
Mm,
tattoos, not in
yeah.
the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
But then when someone books me and wants my time to like design for them, then in that moment I sit with the person and I talk to that person and I try to get to know that person, and then
Yeah.
I can design from that. Because that's the other thing, like, just because I'm an artist and I do art every day doesn't mean that I have the greatest ideas for you, because I have no idea what is in your head.
Mm.
Something that you might think is cool to me might be normal or it's not that cool. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So I had situations where people think like, they're like, oh, I want to get, oh my God, oh, I want to get something, I want to get something. What you think? Tell me, and I'll be like, oh, you like this, you like that, and they're like, no, no. So I'm like, okay, so tell me what you like. Let's pick, like, for example, look at tattoos of, like, I don't know, fishes,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, sharks. Tell me which shark of all these shark tattoos is the one that caught your attention, that you feel like it's well done, that is similar to what you're trying to get. Oh, I like this one. Okay, so let's grab this one, and then other thing that you like from another one, and then okay, let's grab that one, and then I'm the one who make the design, the
Mm.
fusion, and create
Yeah.
it for that person in that moment,
Okay.
because it's really hard to, like, know what a person like without knowing that person,
Yeah.
and people be booking me and saying like they like my style, but then they ask for something that is not my style, or it's not really like.
Nothing
So I'm
related.
like, it's complicated.
Yeah.
After tattooing so many people, I'd rather just work with the person in that moment, in the
Mm.
moment of the tattoo, so that way,
Yeah.
it's easier that way. Because sometimes
Interesting.
you'll be like I still do that. Like, sometimes some person tell me like, I don't know, I want a lotus flower, so, or I want a lotus flower in my hand. So I
Mm-hmm.
will like, oh yes, I'm gonna do a tattoo of lotus flower in the hand. So the night before, I'm like drawing and creating this
Mm.
amazing, I don't know, intricate design on the hand,
Yeah.
because he said that he wanted a lotus flower in the hand, and he said it was okay whatever I wanted to do. So I was like, all right, I
Mm-hmm.
design, and then the next day I show them, they'll be like, oh, that's too much. Or no, I wanted the lotus flower but simpler. So it's like, you see what I can draw before or have something
Mm.
pre-done for you,
Yeah.
because most of the times they think it's that's not exactly what they expect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, I want you to do it how you wanna do it.
Mm.
You have creative freedom, but then it's not really like
It's
that.
not.
So
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah. No. I think like for me, I think that's one of the reasons because I see the art, I see the tattoo artist, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should get a tattoo. But then I'm also a very picky person where like I don't know. One, I don't know what to get because I feel like I could like change my mind very easily. And then two is like I don't know where I would put the tattoo because for me I think like long term, like when I'm older, like is it gonna look bad? Like is it gonna be too wrinkly? Like am I gonna grow a bit more chubby or like is that gonna affect the tattoo? So for me it's like really hard to kind of like choose and like choose where I want to have the tattoo and then what do I want to do because I have so many
Mm.
ideas and then also like the pricing of tattoos is also a bit expensive for me. So it's like, do I really like this is an investment really? So
It is.
yeah, and especially it's such a long term thing. Like tattoos are gonna be there forever. Um,
Yeah. I
before
feel like, I mean, I just feel like with tattoos, it's like with life. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And if
yeah,
I think about what's gonna happen when I'm old, I'm not gonna be able to do anything,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
So,
I'll
um,
put it in my savings account now. Tattoo for
if
next year.
you really want it, you should just do it, because you never know, you know?
That's my cousin's mindset. She has now one, two. She's probably like 5 or 10 5 to 10 tattoos that I remember, and all of them, most of them were like last year. So yeah, that's definitely the mindset that she's like just doing it.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
you know what? There are things that happen in our lives that we didn't decide them for them to happen, and they literally mark us forever.
Mhm.
So tattoos are the only few things that you can actually have control over and mark
Mhm.
yourself with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually
You
beautiful.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there are bad things that happen that you're like, oh, why? And they mark you forever. But then with tattoos, it's at least like this I did it to
I
myself.
choose to.
This I wanted. I wanted to
Yeah.
mark myself. Nobody.
I'll do it myself. I'll go buy my ink set right now. No, no, no. Um, I had one more question with tattoos, and I forgot about it. But I wanna ask the last two questions now that I see the time. The first one is, with your journey of being a tattoo artist, what have been like those achievements, like those logros, those like things like holy crap, this happened to me, and it could be big or small, like whatever you think it's like however you will define the big or small, but you can't like you just can't believe that this happens to you, and if you wouldn't have started your tattoo artist journey, um, I forgot I was gonna go to. If you haven't started your tattoo artist journey, then it would have never happened. So for you, like, what were those things that it was like holy crap?
What happened? I feel like I'm very
Sure.
blessed. I feel like almost every day
As you
incredible
should,
things happen
yes.
to me. Even if they're little, to me it feels very big. Um, I could be very like excited and shocked that a person that I respect or that is big say a nice comment about my work.
Mm,
That could be a big achievement and a big
yeah.
goal in me, in my heart, that could make my day, my week, or my year.
Oh wow.
But I also had like like the interviews have been like a very big positive thing in my life. I never thought like somebody would be interested in my life and tell my story like you are. So that's
Yeah.
also like a big blessing. So for example, you like this happening right now, I was very excited about it. And what else? I also got printed, like I was in a magazine, but I was printed on a paper, and
Mm,
like a actual physical magazine that doesn't happen anymore. And it was like it is this like very well known tattoo magazine that I used to
mm,
read when I first started.
oh
So I
wow.
never imagined that I would finally be on those papers.
Yeah.
So when I what was that was also a big moment. I don't know, many things that made my day and made me feel very blessing. So and then you get like you achieve something, but then it's not like then you're like, what's next?
What's nice? Yeah.
So I really like I thought I had big goals, but now it's like, oh my God, I need to have more goals. Do you know what I'm saying? So like for example, what I told you, like I finally got connected and like somebody thought that I was very good, like, and so
Mm-hmm.
they suggested me, and that was a big blessing too. This regular people who are talking good about me,
Mm,
and that's a big blessing. That makes me feel like I'm achieving big things only because a regular person think that I'm good, and little by little, those regular people got to that. For example, this guy, and now I got to like hang out in the same space as those people, and it's just
yeah.
like crazy. It's amazing, but it's just the little things that are making those big things happening.
Yeah.
So to me, it's more like being grateful and enjoying it and be happy with the moment right now, what is
Mm-hmm.
happening right now, and then
Yeah.
the other things just come.
Yeah. And I think that's something we forget to do: be present, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's when things start coming. And my last question to you is, and it's more like advice for others, it's like for those who think in no solo medicine that they don't deserve this or that they want to start a hobby, learn a new skill, start their own business, a side hustle, whatever it is, but they don't think it's solo medicine, they don't think they deserve it. What either advice would you give them, or an actual like tip or strategy that you've used in your life to kind of like say like I see my medical. Like, what would you tell them, or what strategy? Anything.
Um, I think like what everybody says, go for it. If you really feel it in your heart, it's something that you want to do, even if you feel like, oh, what people is gonna think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course, it's gonna be bad at the beginning. You're gonna be super
Yeah.
whack. You're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose time. But if you keep doing it, those things add up later.
Yeah.
Like the bad things that happen at the beginning, where you think that you're doing it, you're trying, but it's not happening. Those
Mm-hmm.
things, then later on, you're gonna be like, oh, I had to go through that to
Yeah.
see the process, like the result of my effort.
Yeah.
So same thing, just if you want to do it, if you really feel it in your heart, doing it, because that's the best thing to do. Like after you achieve it, it's like it literally you can die tomorrow and be happy because you did
Mm-hmm.
what you wanted, and you didn't let nobody tell you no.
Yeah.
I had, like, for example, being a tattooer was the option I had in that moment because I always loved music, but I hate my voice, so I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make it that way. But nowadays, when you see so many people being successful in the music world without having amazing voices, makes you think like, oh, if I went through that line and really went after
Yeah.
my dream, I could have like made it too. Because you never know. Like the world is changing so fast and it keeps changing,
Mm-hmm.
and things that you think right now are not possible in 2 3 years are going to be. So
Yeah.
why not? And it's like you're only here once.
Yeah.
This is all the opportunity we have. Same thing. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I am a big proof of, at least to my friends, they say that I'm a big proof of, like, when you really believe in something, you can do it.
Yeah.
And it's great to inspire other people and make them feel like, bro, we literally are all same mates in the same way. Like we all have two legs,
Yeah.
two arms, one head.
Yeah.
That's all we need to like make things happen.
Yeah. For sure. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here, for having this awesome conversation. I hope we have you back. Like maybe you become like a millionaire, being a tattoo artist or starting other projects. That would be
That,
awesome.
yeah, that would be good. Yeah. No, invite me anytime. Anytime
Yeah.
you want to talk again. And I want you to be super big. I want this to be like incredible. Like, I need this to be featured in Latina magazine. I need you to be
Oh.
like every Latino social media. They need to
Oh.
mention your name because you're doing great and you're so young. And I love this. I appreciate that you thought about me. This is great.
No, I appreciate. We both appreciate each other. Thank you so much. Yeah, that would be awesome if I get featured. But yeah, I think something I learned from you today was the focusing and really focusing on your goal and visualizing, manifesting all of that. Because at least for me, that's something I really struggle with. I like think, oh, I need to do this, and that. So I
Hmm.
that's something. If
No,
it,
believe me. Look, I never went to school for anything, for art, for graphic designing.
mm-hmm,
All of the tattooers know Photoshop. I have no idea about Photoshop, and they still, like, even today, like a few days ago, one of the tattooers was like, "How the fuck do you work? You don't know Photoshop? How you make these stencils by hand? You're wasting so much time." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm doing it in the more rough way, but I'm
yeah,
doing it anyway."
and you're still
So at
doing
the
a
end
good
of the
job.
day, I'm giving the same result,
Yeah,
even though my ways are different and I don't have the technique they have, or the
the
knowledge they
knowledge.
have.
Yeah,
So don't think because you don't went to school or you didn't have the opportunities other people had, you can't make it, because
yeah.
there are ways, bro. There are
You
all the
just
ways.
gotta look for it. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
Marie Forleo. She's I want to say she's some type of coach, but she's like she has a book called Everything is Figure Outable, so you can figure everything out. She's got to figure out a way. But yeah, no, thank you so much again, Michelle, for being here. And again, hopefully I have you back, to talk about anything or everything. And then those who want to check out your art, like where can they find you? Social medias, anything?
Use Instagram.
Instagram?
Just
Yeah.
Instagram is MN Santana Tattoo. That's where you
Okay.
can see my work. That's it.
Awesome, awesome. And then if they want to book you too, there's links there too, right?
Yeah, there's an email for the
For
bookings,
bookings.
for appointments, or you
Okay.
can also DM me, send me a DM. I'm not that exclusive. I respond my messages, so no problem.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely leave the links below. And for those who are listening, don't forget to give a review on Spotify if you can. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, comment, follow, like, all of that. Because again, that's our
Yeah,
purpose of
follow,
podcast.
subscribe.
Subscribe, all of that. And with that being said, thank you again, Michelle, for being here. And thank you all for listening. Sending you all love. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.